From Homedale to Salmon River, District 3 has several teams that don't always get their due. Stepping outside the shadows of the SIC, this is the Treasure Valley Prepcast with Logan Green.
That's right. Welcome into another edition of the Treasure Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, brought to you by D.L. Evans Bank. This is Community Banking. Brandon Baney with Logan Green as we are getting settled into the postseason stretch drive in District 3, 3A, 2A, 1A athletics. Logan, how you doing?
Great. It's just crazy. Like, we were just starting this a couple weeks ago, right? And we're getting ready to talk about week one, and here we are playing bracketology today, and then looking at state soccer tournament brackets. It's crazy how fast the fall sports season went.
Yeah, before we hop on and record, we always kind of sit down and take a couple of minutes to kind of plan out the rundown, right, and how we're going to talk about things. Our pre-planning session might be longer than the actual podcast.
No, yeah. What did we talk for, like 30 minutes? And we probably could have gone longer. So, but it's a fun conversation. So we'll just rehab the conversation right now.
That's right. We want to sound intelligent, so we're trying to work out all of the mathematical permutations that exist.
That's right.
And that's why you're the perfect guy, Logan, because you're the number cruncher at IdahoSports.com. So,
yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. We want to start first, though, with soccer because boys and girls state soccer tournaments kick off this week, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all throughout the Treasure Valley.
Yeah, and it's going to be a great weekend. You know, last year the soccer tournaments were held up north. And then boomeranged back down here after they got snowed out that first during that last or next to last weekend of October up there in Coeur d'Alene, and a couple championship games came back down here because they involved Treasure Valley teams. So they ended up playing it back down here, but shouldn't be the case this weekend here in the Treasure Valley.
That's right. We always joke it's the banana belt over there in Boise. So weather-wise should be pretty nice. Right, for sure. Let's take a look at this. Let's start on the boys' side for 3A state soccer. Here's the bracket, and if you're watching the video of this on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel or our Facebook page, maybe make the screen full size so you can see this bracket. What you'll notice, Logan, is that representing District 3 and coming in at the number 5 seed overall is McCall Donnelly. The Vandals pulled off the upset in the District 3 championship match over Weiser. The match went to penalty kicks, which every coach hates to see because it can really go either way, right? And they won 6-4 on PKs.
Yeah, that's a tough way to decide a game. And no disrespect to McCall Donnelly. They deserve to be there. They beat the best team in their conference. They earned their spot. But I look at that bracket and I don't see 7 more teams that are better than Weiser. And it's extremely frustrating the way it's set up that Weiser can go all season with 1 loss in 3A to Sun Valley, who's a back-to-back reigning champions and who knocked them off last year in the state championship. 2 years in a row, it's been Weiser Sun Valley. And then they lost a game to a 4A Middleton squad. That was it. That was the only blemish all year for Weiser. And they get upset in their district tournament. Well, what's the point of the season? What's the point? What is the point for them? If they go out and beat everybody on their schedule except 2 that they shouldn't have beat, they beat 16 other teams or whatever it is, and they don't even get in, it's extremely frustrating. And you see it's going to happen in football this year. Somebody's going to get left out, and we'll get to that. But it's extremely frustrating. If I'm Weiser, I'd be upset. I would be upset and angry. And, I mean, that's just me talking, coming from my point of view. But I think they deserve to be there. I think there are not 6 other teams better than Weiser. And it's just, I mean, they lost the game. That's what you got to do at that point in the season. But it's just, what's the point? Why even, hey, you know what? Let's just sit out the whole regular season and just play everybody at districts because we don't want to get anybody hurt. So let's just do that from now on and sit out, and then we'll just play 3 games at districts or 2 games in this situation. And then call it good. It's just, from my point of view, I would be very frustrated if I was Weiser.
You just described Sun Valley Community School season last year, right, Logan? That was the big controversy. They didn't play it all in the regular season because their school district was notoriously conservative when it came to the COVID-19 pandemic. And so I think they played once or twice in the regular season, rolled through districts, rolled through state, whatever, right?
Yeah, why not? Hey, you don't need to play a regular season, apparently. It's
yeah. Here's my thing, Logan. If you are coming from a conference or a district that gets one bid and that's it, and I know they predetermine the representation to try and make all of the districts feel like they're being represented, right? But that's just not going to happen. You can't predict in which seasons, which districts are going to be strong, which ones aren't. And so it's a really easy solution in my mind. If you are from a district that gets one automatic bid, your second place team should have the ability to play their way into state with a play-in match. Who determined the rule was that there gets to be one play-in match and that's it? It's the same thing for basketball, right? One play-in match. Why not have 2 or 3 state play-in matches where some of these spots are truly being won by the best teams? If Weiser takes second, they should have an opportunity to beat somebody else to earn their ticket to state.
Yeah, and if they can't do that, then fine, go home. Like, I get it. But let's let in the 4 or 5 district champs or whatever, however they combine it, and say, all right, everybody in second place now, maybe take the best 2 second place teams according to the rankings, and then take all the other second place teams and have them play. And then you truly get all the conference champs. McCall should be there. They won their conference. I mean, that's the thing, they did win. It's not a disrespect to them at all with this. It's that Weiser should be there. They should at least have had a chance to show that we're better than somebody else's too. And they don't get that chance. Yeah. And now they just go home. So like you said, Brandon, I think there's no harm in having another play-in game. I mean, that when did they play? Last Thursday, Friday? I think it was the 14th. So it was Thursday. I'm sure Weiser would have been ready Friday afternoon for another game. I'm sure that they would have been ready. So, it's too bad that that's the way it shakes out.
Yeah. I mean,
it's unfortunate.
I look at this bracket, and to me, Weiser is better than Teton, who won the actual play-in game, quote unquote. They're better than Bonners Ferry, a runner-up from District 1. They're better than Kimberly, certainly. Yep. Kimberly was the 6th seed going into their tournament, just got hot and ended up taking second place. So, I mean, you're right. There's a lot of teams on here that Weiser is better than. They should have had the opportunity to come in, but we have to move on and talk now about McCall Donnelly. Now it's up to the Vandals to carry the torch for District 3. They've got a tough matchup right away with Coeur d'Alene Charter, a boys program that finished second in the regular season standings, but won their district tournament. Yeah,
and I mean, Coeur d'Alene Charter has just been a powerhouse in soccer, period. I mean, the girls team has just been on a roll the last, 7-8 years. And, it's contagious on the other side too. If the girls are doing it, you got to do it too. You guys, they're competing, that the girls are trash talking them, saying, look at our trophy case, and yours is not as full as ours. So I'm sure that there's a little motivation there to be as good as the girls team. And they're a tough squad, and McCall draws a tough opening round matchup, but it would have been a totally different seeding, if Weiser had made it in. But that's the way it is now. I guess we can't really talk too much about it because it's done and over with. So the teams will play with who they've got in front of them. But you got to think that the person most excited about that is Sun Valley. Like, I don't know if anybody's going to stop them now. I think it was Weiser maybe had that best chance, and then American Falls is probably somebody else that can give them trouble. But outside of that, I think that they, and Sugar Salem, they're another one of those schools that they're good at everything and can get hot at the right time and end up winning. I'm sure Homedale's football team does not want to talk about Sugar Salem anymore, but they're another team that could get hot. But I think it's the Cutthroats to lose again this season.
Yeah, my early prediction is Sun Valley versus Sugar Salem in the championship.
Yeah,
that's kind of how I'm feeling. But
that would be. I don't think that's probably pretty close to what we'll see.
Yeah. Coeur d'Alene Charter, it's funny, Logan, they also had to win via penalty kicks in their district championship over Bonners Ferry, but Bonners didn't have the pressure of Bonners knew that, hey, if we lose, we're still going to state because we get that automatic spot. So it is interesting to see how the different leagues approach things. So that's the boys side. McCall Donnelly is going to have a tough opening round matchup with Coeur d'Alene Charter. I could see them pulling off that win, but then,
I think so. I mean, they beat Weiser. Like they did what they were supposed to do. Like I don't think that anybody's questioning that they could beat Coeur d'Alene Charter in that game, and then they get a chance with Sun Valley. But Sun Valley, I just think they are. I think, like I said, I think it's theirs to lose.
Juggernaut for sure. All right, let's switch over to the girls' side where Fruitland won the District 3 tournament pretty easily. They come in, Logan, to state as the number 1 seed because of the Max Preps ratings. Basically, what it came down to is Fruitland had no losses this year, but 1 tie. Coeur d'Alene Charter, who I think is probably the best overall team, right? They've won state how many years in a row? Coeur d'Alene Charter gets the 2 seed because they picked up a game with Sandpoint at the very end of the season after St. Mary's had to cancel, and Sandpoint, of course, went undefeated in the regular season, and they lost that match to Sandpoint, and that one singular loss was enough to knock them down to number 2. So I think Fruitland's got a pretty nice bracket set up here. They'll play Timberlake in the first round.
Oh, yeah. I think it's a crash course. I don't see any other way besides it being Coeur d'Alene Charter and Fruitland, and that's going to be a great game. I mean, we've talked about her before. I'm going to pull up her, but Abby Robideau for Fruitland. When you have a player like that, that's an X factor when it comes to tournaments. You look at in March, right? NCAA tournament time, players can get hot and they just take over and they take control. When you've got somebody like Abby that is averaging almost 9 points a game, Fruitland's going to score 9 goals. And, off of her foot, whether by assist or a goal for herself, that's tough. I mean, she's averaging almost 4 goals a game. Some teams don't average 4 goals a game. A lot of them don't average 3 goals a game. So you're going to have to score to beat Fruitland. And that's the thing. I don't know if other teams are going to be able to do that, if they're going to be able to keep up, because Fruitland's going to score and they're going to score a lot. And other teams have got to be ready to play offensively, because I think it's going to take a 3-goal game at least to knock off Fruitland.
Yeah, now this will sound funny, Logan, but as I'm looking at the bracket here, I think Coeur d'Alene Charter actually got the better draw as the 2 seed, because when you look at Fruitland, they should have no problems in the opening round, but then they're either going to have to play a Sugar Salem team that has put up some very dominating victories this year, or a Marsh Valley team that did not lose to a single 3A team all year, Logan. They played a lot of the 4A Pocatello schools and things like that. So I'm thinking it's going to be Marsh Valley Fruitland in the semifinals, and that actually is going to be a tough matchup. Yeah,
that will be a fun one to watch. And again, I think Marsh Valley is going to have to score goals though if they want to win. It's not going to be a grinded out game. I think that Fruitland's going to push it, and they're going to have to try and slow them down and keep possession to win at that game, or to stand a chance. But at the same time, if Fruitland's scoring goals like they usually do, it's going to be tough to keep up with the Grizzlies.
Yeah, so we'll see how the Fruitland girls and McCall Donnelly boys do at the 3A state tournaments. That starts on Thursday. So really good news for Fruitland last week, right? The girls soccer team, number 1 seeded state. But on the other end, Logan, some really bad news coming from Fruitland High School this week as well. So Friday night, it was pretty shocking as we were wrapping up our broadcasts and looking at the scores on the Friday Night Flash, and all of a sudden we saw that Payette had defeated Fruitland in football 27-14, which was very surprising. Not that Payette is like bad, but they've had a very average season, right? And Fruitland, we thought, okay, they're pretty much a lock at this point to get that third and final spot to the playoffs. They beat McCall Donnelly earlier this year, and they're going to get that third spot. Well, then they turn around and lose 27-14, and I could not figure out what was going on there. Well, now today we find out that there was a really bad hazing incident with some of the varsity players. 11 players in total were investigated, suspended for the game this past Friday because of their role in this horrible, horrendous hazing incident. And so now it makes more sense that Fruitland would lose, right?
Yeah. And you know what? We don't know anything about what happened, and we're not going to speculate about it. But I tell you, if you are an athlete, a student, a human being, which you are if you're listening to this, that there is no place for that at all. If you can't do something to someone and basically laugh, right? Because I'm sure that's what happened. Whatever happened, people were laughing. If you are getting a laugh out of somebody else's expense, no matter how small it is, stop it. It's just, I don't even know how, I just can't believe that this stuff is still going on and that people are still doing stuff like this. It makes me so mad. Like, just stop it. Just be good people. Just don't do that to people. I don't know. I mean, I've read the stuff online, but I don't know what's true or not. And I'm not going to speculate about what is or what isn't, but somebody clearly got their feelings hurt. And if you can't do anything nice, just don't do it. It's just stupid. So, and I mean, you look at this and whether or not it actually happened, you cost your team a big game that you probably should have won and potentially a playoff spot because of it. Like, was that worth it? Was being mean to someone worth you ending your football season early? Because that's what's probably going to happen with this.
Yeah, I mean, 11 players. That is not a insignificant amount, especially at a 3A school like Fruitland. And you talked about it. We don't know officially what happened. We probably won't, and that's not our business. But it was enough that they did not participate in the game Friday. So, I mean, like you said, whatever happened, it may have derailed Fruitland's season. It may ultimately cost them a spot in the playoffs. So
because now all of a sudden, don't look now, but Payette is a win away from getting into the playoffs. I mean, incredible. I mean, they're going to take advantage of this situation there, and they're right knocking on the door. There's a big game now this weekend that I don't think anybody thought was a big game. That we tagged as a playoff potential matchup, but it is now between McCall Donnelly and Fruitland, and Payette. If McCall wins that game, Fruitland plays Homedale. Fruitland plays Homedale.
Let's start with the simplest outcome.
They could win, but they're not. They're not going to beat them. Right. Homedale wins that. But I'll eat crow all day long if that happens. But Homedale's going to win. So that leaves them at 2-3 in the conference. McCall right now is 1-3. If they beat Payette, which Payette sits at 2-2, now you have 3 teams tied at 2-3. And this is where we don't know how that tiebreaker is going to go. What happens with it? Or to be honest, with what's going on, if Fruitland even wants it, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. But you look at it, but the easiest solution is if Payette wins and Fruitland loses to Homedale, that's it. Payette's in. And a team that's historically not in this position, but all of a sudden has a chance to be, look out. I mean, we know that there was 11 players missing from Fruitland, so that makes a difference, but it's not the only difference. I mean, Payette had to be ready to still win that game. Fruitland is one of those programs that can just plug in somebody else and be ready to go. And they still took care of business, Payette. That's the end of the story, is they took care of business. And you know what? I don't know. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to say that they win that game. I think that maybe they beat McCall Donnelly, get to 3 wins, and all of a sudden Payette's in. Of course, if they don't, like we said, there's going to be a 3-way tie, and who knows? I'm not even going to – I don't know how that shakes out. I don't know.
I sent an email out to some of the athletic directors. I haven't heard back yet, but stay tuned for my bracketology post on IdahoSports.com, where I will have all of that information in there as soon as I figure it out, because Logan, statewide, there are so many possibilities of three-way ties. It's making my head spin.
And we'll talk about it here. I mean, of course, we'll hit on, we mentioned the big game this weekend or last week, right? Homedale beats Weiser, a tight 14-6 game. And that was, I think you mentioned it, that it would be line play, and man, it was a low scoring game. And I thought we were going to see more points out of that one, but those two grinded out, and it didn't affect the Max Preps rankings at all. Homedale stayed number 1, Weiser stayed number 2. And if you look at the 3A bracket, we're going to do this is what you wanted to hear, right? You wanted to hear what we think, or what the brackets look like they're going to shake up. We're not going to get into round 2 because that's too much. But if you look at the first round, so all 5 conference champions get a bye in 3A. So Homedale's going to get that bye into the next round, and then it's the next 6 are come in based on conference affiliation. District 3 gets 2 additional teams outside. So Weiser is going to be that team, and then Payette, McCall, Fruitland, and most likely that team will be the 6th team out of the 6. So you're looking at a potential Weiser versus Fruitland, McCall, or Payette game potentially in the first round. That's just the way the Max Prep rankings are looking at this moment. The second at-large team is looking like it'll be South or Snake River from the Blackfoot area. The third team looks like it will probably be South Fremont. The fourth team is going to come out of District 1 up north, and there's still some work to be done up there. We think that Timberline probably wins the conference, and then it goes so that at large would go to Kellogg, the 4, and then of course then Buell, who had a huge win. I mean, it should be Kimberly. Kimberly has always been in there. It's been Kimberly, but Buell beat them 26-21 last week, and all of a sudden took control. And right now it's theirs to lose. They play Filer this week. They should beat Filer, and they're in. And so that would put Buell in. So right now from District, if we keep it here, District 3, there's a high potential that we see a conference matchup in the first round.
Yep. And for Weiser, at this point, I don't think it matters who the opponent is. Weiser is so good and so talented. Yeah. I think whoever they play, I mean, and then they get reseeded, and they're going to
be the 2 seed. Yeah. When it gets reseeded, they're going to win whoever they play in the first round, and they're going to be the 2nd seed, and they're going to have home field throughout the playoffs until the state championship if it gets there. And I mean, they could play another conference game in the state championship too.
And I do think that possibly they could get passed by Gooding. We'll have to see if Gooding gets a win. But either way, I don't think they drop below 3, right?
They don't go below 3. Yeah, so if Gooding's able to beat Kimberly by a lot this week, then maybe Gooding takes the jump. But again, it's all speculation, but it's fun speculation, right? I think Weiser for sure, though, they're going to have a home game the first week of the playoffs. I think and they'll probably be home in the second week as well.
Yes.
But then we'll see how that tiebreaker works out, or if Payette just takes care of business. If Payette beats McCall Donnelly, we wrap it up and call it good.
My gut tells me, Logan, that McCall Donnelly wins that game, and there's a 3-way tie, and we gotta sort it out.
Yeah, very possible.
That's kind of how I'm leaning. So
I selfishly kind of want to see Payette, and just because I haven't been there for a while, and it's always fun to see those teams that they got nothing to lose. They have nothing to lose, and they will come in and they'll put on a show as best they can.
Yeah. The fact that they have something to play for here in the final week of the regular season, it's been a while since.
I mean, a couple of years ago, they had to shut down. They didn't have enough kids, and now here they are. Like you said, last week of the year with a chance to go to the playoffs. What more can you ask for?
Yeah, super exciting. So, okay, luckily for you, the listeners, that was the most difficult area to break down in terms of football. It's going to get a lot easier from here as we navigate into the 2A and the 1A waters. Before we do that, though, let's step aside. We'll take a break. We'll hear from our sponsor, DL Evans Bank. We'll come back and tell you what the 2A and 1A playoff picture looks like for District 3 football here in the Treasure Valley. So we'll be right back with more of the Treasure Valley Prepcast right after this.
Wherever you are, DL Evans Bank is right there to help. From applying for loans to opening new accounts and signing documents, personalized service is just a video call away. This is Bank Live with DL Evans Bank. This is community banking.
All right, welcome back to the Treasure Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, brought to you by DL Evans Bank. Brandon Baney with Logan Green as we move to the 2A Western Idaho Conference for football. Logan, you can take a moment to bask in your glory as you correctly predicted coming into the season that Nampa Christian would be the team to beat.
Yeah, hashtag Go Trojans. They're my pick. I just think that they're rolling right now. I mean, they had a huge win against Declo that sets up the big win against Melba, and we have another potential for a 3-way tie here because this week Nampa Christian plays Coal Valley, and if Coal Valley is able to win that, then all of a sudden you have a 3-way tie at the top. But I think Nampa Christian takes care of business there and wins that game and gets the auto bid from District 3, and they are gelling at the right time right now. They look tough. I mean, they really put it to Melba, I think, better than anybody else has all year. So I don't know. I think that Nampa Christian has a good shot to wrap it up like I predicted. Everybody, you heard it here. I picked Nampa Christian to win it before anybody ever played a game.
Yep.
But let's just say Nampa Christian wins. The difference between this year and last year is Melba got in, but nobody else from District 3 did. And this year, we see the opposite. So we're going to take the easy route. Nampa Christian takes care of business against Coal Valley. They're going to get a bye. But there's 6 at-large teams that just come based on Max Prep rankings next, outside of those conference champions. The first seed is most likely going to go to the winner or to the loser of the North Fremont Firth game this weekend. I kind of like Firth in that game. They've looked good all year. They were in the state championship last year. They have a heartbreaking loss to Westside on their record right now, and that's it. But the loser of Firth North Fremont is probably in that first spot. The second spot probably goes to Bear Lake. And then the third and fourth spot right now, if it ended right now, would go to Melba and then Coal Valley Christian. So there you go. You could have another conference matchup. Those two could be playing in that 3-4 game, potentially. Just the way it shapes up right now. The fifth spot will go to Aberdeen and the sixth spot to West Jefferson. There is some chance for some movement there because we think Aberdeen and West Jefferson both probably win this weekend. I think who's Aberdeen play? American Falls, I think.
No. They host Bear Lake.
Oh no, that's right. They play Bear Lake. So I think that if Bear Lake wins that game, Aberdeen potentially could drop a spot, and West Jefferson plays Salmon. So if they're able to win and move up, there is some potential for movement, especially seeing how Coal Valley Christian will do. So I think that's pretty set. I think it's those 6 teams that you're going to see on opening weekend. And we can't see every scenario we've looked at. I can't see it being anybody else besides those 6.
Yep. I agree with that. I think it's pretty locked in at this point. The only thing that needs to be determined is who wins District 1 and 2 up north. And here's the thing, Logan, at the 2A level, all the fans that are over in the WIC, you're going to get a chance to kind of see how this playoff picture unfolds on IdahoSports.com. Thursday night, we're going to have that Bear Lake at Aberdeen broadcast. That's right. It's a Thursday night game. I'll be on the call for it. Friday night, we're going to have that big Firth at North Fremont matchup as well, live on IdahoSports.com. So this is a great opportunity for the fans over in District 3 to kind of start looking at those other teams that are going to be in the playoffs and participating and maybe start getting an idea of how it's going to shake out. So,
there's a huge potential that these teams play each other, that somebody's going to run into Bear Lake or Aberdeen in the first round. or Firth or North Fremont. Just looking at it, there's a high potential, right? There's only 6 spots, so you've got a 1 in 5 chance of drawing. You got a 1 in actually 4, right? What do you got? 1, 2, 3.
Well, each team, let's say Melba and Coal Valley get at large, but each of them would have a 1 in 4 chance.
Even more. Yeah. Anyways, you got a chance to watch your potential opponent on Idaho Sports, especially Thursday night. Nothing else going on, so you probably should be watching it anyways. So be sure to check that one out. And I think that one's pretty clear cut. I think, especially if Nampa Christian wins it, if Coal Valley wins it, there will be a 3-way tie, and I don't know how that one is determined. But however it is, those 3 are still in. And we talked about it earlier in the season. You saw these 3 teams play tough non-conference games. And what's interesting is they lost some of these. You saw Coal Valley go over and play Westside and lose. You saw Melba play a North Fremont and lose. But then you saw Nampa Christian go beat Declo, and then they just shoot up after that win and then after the Melba win. And you look back and say, hey, maybe we did something right here. And I think all 3 of them played Fruitland too. You look at that and say, you played tough teams. You might have lost, but you did the right thing in playing tough teams instead of going after the easy wins. And now all of a sudden they're rewarded with a playoff spot instead of a 2-6 Malad team like last year.
Yeah, I think we figured it out in the preseason. Look, when we talked about it, it's better to go out and play a tough opponent and lose than it is to go beat up on a team 70-0. There's just not much to be gained from that. So as we transition now to 1A D1 football, again, this is kind of clear cut, right? In District 3, Notice is going to play Wilder on Friday. The winner will win District 3 and get the automatic bid. And it's go ahead.
No, the only dance is if Notice beats Wilder, is Wilder in? That's the toss up. And right now, they're not. And this kind of goes back to what we were talking about. The benefit of losing to a bad team versus beating, or the benefit of losing to a good team but beating a bad team. Wilder is 5-2 right now. If the season ended right now, they're not in. 0-7 Lighthouse Christian is ranked above them.
Yes,
that's not right. That Wilder right now, of the there's going to be 7 at-large bids, plus the worst ranked conference champ which will probably be Lakeside, and so Lake or Wallace. It might be Lakeside or Wallace. So 7 at-larges. The 8th team right now, sitting in 8th, is Lighthouse, and 9th is Wilder. So Wilder is right there. If they win, though, if they beat them, they get in. And Notice they're still in. I think they're still in. They'd have to fall pretty far to be out of the at-large bid for 1A D1. So Notice, I think, is in. If they beat Wilder, they get a bye. Then that's what you want, right? You get a bye in the first round. You can look what it's going around the state and get ready for your home game the next week. If you're Wilder, it's win or go home.
Yeah, it's pretty clear cut, I think. What 1A D1, just so our listeners can follow along, just like 2A, right? The 5 district champs get automatic bids, and then the next 6 are determined via the at-large bid, and it's all based on Max Prep's rankings. So, yeah, you mentioned it. There's something wrong when an 0-7 team is ranked ahead of you in the Max Prep's ratings. But yeah, I think it's pretty clear cut for Wilder. They don't win this game, they're out. Notice with a loss could still get in. Of course, they want to win though and get that bye and set themselves up for a home playoff game. And
what really stinks is that their losses, they lost to Cary, and everybody loses to Cary. And then their other losses to Horseshoe Bend, and they were in that game, and their Horseshoe Bend's a top 5 D2 school. Those are very respectable losses. If you're going to lose to 2 teams, you can't lose to 2 better teams than that. And it's just tough. I know that the 5 that they've beaten are not the greatest 5, but they they beat who they played. And you look at Lighthouse, and they didn't beat anybody they played. So it's, that's the way it's shaken out. And then if you look at those at-large bids that are going to come, I think it's pretty set there. I think the bottom one might shuffle a little bit, but the loser of the Oakley Raft River game is going to be that top at-large bid. And then if it ended right now, going down the line, you've got Lapway, Grace, Murtaugh, Genesee, Potlatch, Clearwater Valley, and then of course the Lakeside or Wallace district champ. Whoever wins that district up north. I think if Wallace wins, it'll be a tie. I don't know how that tiebreaker shakes out, but if Lakeside wins, Lakeside is in. And then, like we mentioned, just outside is Lighthouse and Wilder. But Clearwater Valley only with one win on the season, and they're looking like to get a bid if it ended right now.
Yeah, so Clearwater Valley picked up their second win on Friday night. They're
second win, excuse me.
2-5. And again, I don't understand how a team like Grace is ranked ahead of Notice, for example, in the Max Preps ratings, right? Grace is 4-3, Notice is 6-1. The only thing I can figure out, Logan, is maybe that Grace, they've lost to Oakley and Raft River, the top two teams in 1A D1, whereas Notice's loss came to a 1A D2 opponent, right? They lost to
Horseshoe Bend, but again, an undefeated top 5 team.
But this is where the computer can't, like the eye test, we can look at and say Horseshoe Bend, that's a good team. Like,
yes,
that's a good loss. The computer sees it as, that's a 1A D2 opponent.
That's less than
you were supposed to beat them because you're a 1A D1. The computers don't understand that wasn't a bad loss. And because of that, now Grace at 4-3 all of a sudden is ahead of Notice. No, I don't agree with that. And there's a lot of problems with this system, I will say. And
that's probably the same thing you're seeing with Wilder. I mean, Cary is a D2 and so is Horseshoe Bend, and they say, you should have beat them. No, nobody 4A Wood River didn't even beat Cary. Yeah, it's I think Cary would go out and beat just about anybody up to a certain level. They're really good. And so, I think it's probably when you get towards the tail end of this bracket, it's probably the most watered down. I think the tail end of the 4A bracket is going to be a little watered down as well. Compared to like the 2A bracket, I think it's going to be extremely strong from top to bottom. But when you get down into the Clearwater Valley and Lakeside, you're scrapping at stuff there. But it's going to be a tough bracket anyways. With Butte County is really good. Raft River and Oakley are very good. It's hard to say that it's going to be anybody besides those 3 left at the end of the day anyways.
Prairie. I would say
Prairie. Excuse me. I forgot about you, Prairie. I apologize. When I've been looking at it all season, I don't think the top 4 has changed. Raft River, Oakley, Prairie, Butte County. And
that was the big storyline last year, right? Was Notice had a nice regular season, but they got to the playoffs, kind of fell flat. So now for Notice, it's kind of their redemption tour.
Right.
This is their opportunity to prove that last year was a fluke, and we are ready to compete with the big boys. So it'll be interesting to see how Notice does.
Yeah, and like I said, they can get a bye, and then they can get a favorable matchup in that first round. Right now, they're the 7th ranked team in Max Preps. So a win against Wilder will probably help that and move them up a little bit. And then they have a good chance to win that game and move on. And look out for them. I think they've just been quietly sliding under everybody's radar this year. You haven't heard anything about them really at a statewide level, and I think people have just kind of forgotten they're there. And I'm sure that they don't mind that nobody's talking about them, and they want to come out and they'll have people talk about them when it matters.
Yeah, for sure. They don't mind flying under the radar, no doubt about that. 1A D2, this is the easiest one, Logan. There's 3 predetermined bids. We know who the 3 teams are going to be. Locked into the number 3 spot is Garden Valley, and Council will play Horseshoe Bend Friday night for 1 and 2. Yeah,
so if we start from the bottom and go up from Garden Valley, they're going to have a road game against the second place team from District 5-6, which will be the loser of the Rockland and North Gym game. And that's not a game it's not a great present if you're Garden Valley. I think North Gym wins that game, so I think it's going to be a trip to Rockland is what Garden Valley gets, that's going to be tough for the Wolverines. Rockland, a great squad. Now, on the other side, if you're Council, so the next spot is going to go to Council. It's a road game as well, but I think it's a very favorable road game. They're going to get the fourth team from District 4, or the third team, excuse me. And so there is most likely going to be Dietrich. Dietrich, very good defending state champions, but definitely probably not who they've been in the past. And so maybe a chance to make a statement win against the defending state champions, right? To play against Dietrich and maybe squeak that one out against the Blue Devils, who lost a lot last year. And then maybe, you never know what can happen after that.
Now, see, so Logan, you're looking at the second place the fourth place team from District 4, right?
I thought it was third. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. So if you look at the 1A D2 bracket, the third place team from District 3, which we think is going to be Council. Council certainly could beat Horseshoe Bend, but Horseshoe Bend looks like clearing away the best team. They would play the fourth place team from District 4, which is actually going to come down to
Hanson.
The winner of Hanson and Camas County this Friday, which
right.
I could go either way, to be honest. It doesn't matter. That's going to be a nice present for Council, I think, in the opening round. And then if they get past that, then you're looking at maybe a trip to North Gem potentially, right?
Maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing because 3B plays 4C, right?
Yes.
So 3B would be
Council.
Yep. So District 4C would be third place.
Oh, you're right. Yes.
It's confusing because sometimes I see the 4 and I think fourth. So because I had it wrong. I had Hanson down originally, and then I looked at it and I was like, oh no, I'm wrong. It's Dietrich.
Oh man.
And now
now I feel like an idiot, Logan.
Yeah, that's my goal, Brandon. So I mean, it
right.
looks like it'll probably be Dietrich in that game.
Yes.
Well, I think depending on how Dietrich plays this weekend on IdahoSports.com against Cary. So if you're a Council fan and you want to get a little scouting in, be sure to check that one out as they travel to Cary. I'll actually be there in Cary for that one. Should be fun. But I think Cary wins that game against Dietrich and sends Dietrich to that third spot.
Yeah. Okay. You're right.
And then on the other side, that one is set in stone, easy peasy. Horseshoe Bend and Kendrick. That's what it'll be. Horseshoe Bend's got to go up there to Kendrick, and that'll be a very tough game. But I think Horseshoe Bend, I think they can do it. I think Horseshoe Bend can go and win that game up there. And the best part about it for them is they get a bye. They might have to go on the road, but they don't have to play opening weekend. They get to sit out opening week. If they're able to beat Kendrick, all of a sudden they're in the semifinals, just like that. You look at who they play, they avoid Cary. If you're Horseshoe Bend, you got to look and say, I like what I see. I think at the end of the day, they're going to end up playing probably Castleford in that semifinal game, and it'll be between Horseshoe Bend and Castleford to go to the state championship.
It's pretty exciting. I think
it's crazy. Just the way that they're seated it's a great gift. I mean, like I said, you got to go on the road, but you win and you're a win away. It's kind of a great spot to be in, an exciting spot to earn that. You win your conference, you get a bye, you're 2 wins away from a state championship appearance. So Horseshoe Bend really knocking on the door, and the way they played this year, I don't know why anybody would have any doubts that they could do it and potentially, get that date with Cary. I think that's what everybody wants, right?
Yeah. For sure. So, we have navigated all of the football playoff waters. It gets remarkably more easy the further down you go in classification. And there's going to be a lot of good games on IdahoSports.com with playoff implications across all classification levels, across all regions. If you want to see the complete schedule, you can go to IdahoSports.com, click on the game streams tab across the top of the homepage, and you can see the entire broadcast schedule. But it's going to be another great weekend. State soccer will be wrapped up. We can talk about that next week, Logan, and start talking about these football playoff matchups. District volleyball will be pretty much finished up next week as well. So it is definitely the most exciting time of year.
Yeah, we'll have brackets in hand for football and I believe volleyball by the next time we're on the air here. I think we'll have everything we need to plan everything out and see how it's going to shake out. Should be exciting.
Yeah, I do know that Horseshoe Bend and Council advanced to the top 2 spots in the Long Pin Conference volleyball tournament. Liberty Charter still looking good in 1A D1. 2A, maybe Melba, possibly Nampa Christian. Coal Valley Christian is actually the number 1 seed in that tournament. And then 3A, Parma looks really good. I don't know. It's gonna be pretty wide open.
Yeah, I think Parma's always been great at volleyball and girls basketball, and those they just have some athletes in that regard that maybe pick up the slack where the football team might be lacking. So yeah, we'll see how everybody gets seeded out as it's going to be playoff galore over the next 2 weeks here in Idaho.
Yep. So that'll be a lot of fun. Logan, thank you for helping us sort through all the numbers and math and the mess and also for correcting me when I was wrong on the bracket.
I've been wrong. I'm usually wrong, but I just wanted to make sure I wasn't reading that wrong.
No, you were reading it totally right. So all right.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy the games this weekend, everybody. We'll see you back here next week to break it all down on another edition of the Treasure Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.